Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. And if you're a first-time viewer, please don't go anywhere. I need the views. Also, I strongly urge anybody not to go anywhere because at the end of this video, you're going to have the exciting chance to win this wonderful loaf of bread. That's right. One lucky viewer will be winning this loaf of bread. So stick around for the opportunity at the end of this video. So, what are we talking about today? I'm glad you asked. We're going to have a look at three quite recent horror books that I would just like to recommend to you because I think they're really, really good. And I think that they kind of deserve a bit more exposure. And I'm sure that if you gave them a try, you'd really like them. Which is pretty presumptuous considering I don't actually know you. So, it's a bit presumptuous for me to be telling you what I think you would like. But bear with me. So first of all, what have we got? We have got a book by an author by the name of Christopher Buehlman. This is his debut novel, Those Across the River. So Christopher Buehlman, as I just said a moment ago, as you may remember, is I think he's a relatively new author. He doesn't have that many books out right now. I own another one called The Suicide Motorcycle Club. And I think he's written one or two others, but I think he's still pretty new to the field. This is a very recent book. It's his first, as I keep saying. And it's basically a horror novel, obviously. And it's set in the 1920s. The basic story is that there's a young couple. There's a professor. He's an academic. Obviously, he's a professor. God, come on, wake up! And he and his wife moved to a small town in Georgia after the First World War. He's a veteran of the First World War, so he's an academic, and he wants to write a book about his family history because in this particular town there's an old plantation called the Savoyard Plantation, and it used to be run by his people in his family like generations ago. So he wants to do some research about this particular plantation, which is why they've moved to this town. And his wife is a school teacher. So they're a happily, a relatively newly married couple. They're young. They want to make a fresh start. And they moved to this small town. Well, it's really a village, this small village in Georgia, and everything's hunky dory at first. But then it soon becomes quite apparent that there's something going on under the surface, because as the title might suggest, across the river from the town, there's something quite sinister, and the townspeople have to regularly pay a kind of tribute to whoever or whatever is over on the other side of the river. And if they don't do that, then problems occur. So this is a very, very, very nice book. It's really, really well written. It's very engaging. And one of the things that I really like about it is that you really get a sense of time and place. Because it's set in the 1920s, obviously it's a very different society from ours in terms of, social mores, in terms of what's acceptable between races, position of women, that kind of thing. And the author really sets the tone. I mean, you really feel like you're in this really, really small village. It's very isolated. And he really paints a really, really sinister atmosphere. So I'm not going to give you any details about what the threat is, but what I would say is the antagonists in this case are genuinely menacing, genuinely frightening, and genuinely formidable. And also very interesting. There's a very, very nice backstory woven into the narrative of what's going on. You've got the action now and how it's connected to the Savoyard Plantation and how this professor is connected due to his family's association with the Savoyard Plantation, if that makes sense. So I would highly recommend this book. It's really good. Next up, we have The Hollows by Daniel Church. Now, if I'm not wrong, this is his first book. I enjoyed this book tremendously, and I did look for some others on Amazon, but I didn't find any. So this is his first novel, I believe, and I think it's his only one so far. But don't quote me on that. So The Hollows, what's this one about? Okay, this one is set in England, jolly old England. And again, this is set in a small town. I think a lot of the best horror, for me anyway, does tend to be set in small towns, small villages, isolated locations. I just tend to gravitate towards that. And basically, the story is this: there's this small town, and we follow the local constable, as a young woman called Ellen, and she gets called to investigate a very strange situation. It's winter, and a young man has been found frozen to death outside, which isn't necessarily unusual. What is unusual is he appears to have been hiding from something, because he's crouched in a kind of ditch or a little hole somewhere, I forget where, and he's holding a knife. So he appears to have been brought to bay, and he's frozen to death, basically hiding or sheltering from some threat. And what makes it even more interesting is the fact that this young man is the member of a local family who are the local nuisances, to say the least. So this book basically is a combination of supernatural evil. There's evil on a supernatural scale and a grand supernatural scale. And there's also the human evil, which is represented by this particular family. And I've got to say, the characterization is really excellent. And the supernatural threat is genuinely formidable. I'm not going to give you too many details. There's basically a kind of how can I put it? Kind of an invasion of the town, if you like, from these particular creatures, and there's a strong element of cosmic horror as well. I'm not going to tell you what the creatures are, just that they're very, very formidable, very, very hard to stop, and the town is really up the creek once they attack. There's a kind of slow build of tension. Not everything happens straight away. The story builds and builds. Things start to happen, night by night. So it doesn't all happen in one big rush. And the townspeople, the town is essentially, when it is attacked in full, it's attacked. They're totally taken by surprise. The titular hollows are a network of caves which run under the ground near to the town. And there's quite an interesting relationship between the town and the hollows, because there are all these legends of monsters or what have you, and but most people don't take it seriously until it's too late. So this is a really, really good read. Its characterization is superb, and it cracks along at a really good pace as well. It's quite a thick book, but very, very enjoyable. And I think I just said I'm not really listening to myself, so sorry if I repeat myself. But, there's an element of cosmic horror. Towards the end, it gets a bit kind of Lovecraftian for a minute, I think. Okay, third book. Here we have Adam Neville, Lost Girl. Now, Adam Neville is often referred to in cover blurbs at the back as the English Stephen King. And I think there are a couple of authors, British authors, English authors, who have been called that, I mean, I've been called the English Stephen King, and I haven't even written a book yet. So anyway, Adam Neville, he really is a superb writer. I have everything that he's written so far, apart from his most recent book. He's a superb writer. Repeating myself. And he's in this particular story. What basically happens is England is in a really, the world really, but let's say England because the story is set in England. England is in a really, really bad way. There are shortages of everything. There's a great deal of crime, a great deal of social unrest. I mean, basically the way England's been since Brexit, basically. And his family, the mum, the dad, and the little daughter, they moved to the coast to try and get away from things a bit. They've got a nice house there, and they're growing their own vegetables and what have you, as a lot of people are, due to the shortage of food and what have you. So they're kind of like doing their best to carry on and survive and do the best they can. And then one day the daughter is snatched out of the garden right under the noses of the parents. And this book is essentially about the father's quest to track down his daughter, to either find out what happened to her or to get her back. I mean, principally, he wants to get her back. And so this basically follows his quest to hunt down the people who took his daughter and to get his daughter back. So this is more like a thriller, really. but it's extremely well written. It's very, very dark. I mean, not dark, really gritty. It's very, very gritty. Obviously, it deals with the topic of child abduction, which is always a very, very emotive topic. There's nothing in this book that you need to be worried about if you are squeamish about child abuse or anything like this. There's nothing like that. I mean, obviously, there's the undercurrent of children being taken and why, but there's nothing graphic, there's nothing specific. So you don't have to, if you're sensitive to that kind of thing, you don't have to worry about it. It's a really, really good book. It's dark, it's gritty, and it's got a strong sense of realism about it as well. You really kind of get behind the protagonist in this case, and you're really rooting for him. And you kind of, and the story progresses really at a very, very fast pace. The story picks up when the daughter has already been gone for some years, so you don't start off with the daughter being taken. That comes in a flashback later. So the man is already on. The father is already well on his way in his quest when you start the book. But I would highly recommend it. These are 3 books that I think that if you haven't read, you should definitely give them a try if you like horror, or if you just like reading good literature in general. They are very, very good. I would definitely recommend them. Okay, so over now. Sorry, just jumped the thing over. Okay, now the chance to win this wonderful loaf of bread. How can you do it? Well, what you need to do is you need to leave a comment in the comment section telling me in 1,000 words or more why you find this channel to be the most wonderful, enriching, interesting, and gripping channel on YouTube. And also, if you could mention how watching my work on here, how it has benefited your life personally, and how it has opened new vistas of literature before you, how it has changed your life on a fundamental level, a fundamentally positive level. And what I'll do is I'll just glance over the comments. I'll choose one at random, and whoever I choose will win this wonderful loaf of bread. This is a very, very, very exclusive item. There are only millions of them. So snap up try to snap up your copy as soon as possible. Okay, well, that's enough from me. That's enough from me from now. That's enough from me for now. Sorry. Thank you for watching if you're still here, and I hope to see you on the next video. Goodbye.